Water, a transparent fluid, a fluid consisting of hydrogen and oxygen. The sea. Speed, velocity, haste, swiftness, rapidity, acceleration. Technology, the science of the industrial arts. Today on Lake Washington, these three elements combined as the fastest boats in the world return to Seattle. Welcome to ESPN Speed World coverage of Hydros, the Ralph's Thunder Tour 99, presented by Las Vegas. Coming to you from the 49th running of the General Motors Cup and the 50th anniversary of Seafair atop beautiful Lake Washington in Seattle. Hi, everybody. Rich Hollenberg here. Thanks for tuning in. The big story this weekend is that the hometown hero, Chip Hanauer, will not be racing this week. The reason is his back is still bothering him from last week's flip in Tri-Cities. The boat went upside down. Chip hurt his back and his neck. He tried in qualifying to race the Miss Pico, but couldn't get the steering straight. His back's still bothering him, so he bows out. And Greg Hopp, the rookie driver having such a fantastic year, will step into the Miss Pico as their new backup driver. My partner, Steve Montgomery, caught up with Chip yesterday to discuss the events.
Well, I'm not 100%. I've got a bad back and bad neck, and under normal circumstances, I think I could have done it, but the boat's got some torque in the wheel, meaning the boat's trying to veer left, and if I was healthy, I think I could deal with it, but I'm not, so I think it's best we put somebody that's 100% in there who can deal with that little problem.
And now we welcome in my partner, Steve Montgomery. And Steve, Chip not driving Miss Pico this weekend. Greg Hopp stepping in for him is not the only driver change we have this weekend.
Well, that's right, Rich. We learned earlier this season that it would be the last for Steve David. It was his farewell tour. He surprised the Seafair press conference on Tuesday by telling us that he had met with owner Jim Harvey and had voiced his concerns about business and professional matters and some personal issues as well. Wanted to go back to Fort Lauderdale now. So Steve David will not be driving the U2 Freddy's Club this weekend.
That's bad news, as we all liked Steve David a lot and wish him well in his future endeavors. But the good news is they've got a good driver in Mark Tate stepping in.
The driver who started with Jim Harvey in the late 80s was Mark Tate, who later became the 1997 driving champion, driving for Steve Woomer in the camel-powered Smokin' Joe, the Winston Eagles, put up a lot of victories. He's been on the beach recently. A phone call to Mark. He's here in the boat, and he will be driving the U2 Freddy's Club today.
Last week in Tri-Cities, Mark Evans and Jerry Hale marked their return to hydroplane racing. This week, it's Mark Tate. Should make for an interesting weekend of racing from Seattle. And let's get right to qualifying, and in the Freddy's Club is Mark Tate qualifying 5th.
Big story having Tater back, and he did have a decent day in qualifying, but not spectacular.
And Mark Evans in the Elam Plus qualifying 3rd. Then there's Chip Hanauer driving the Pico to a number 2 qualifying post.
Started the weekend in the boat, then of course had to step out.
And Dave Vilwalk, a 2nd consecutive course record. He set one in Tri-Cities. He does the same here in Seattle.
Dr. Ken Muscatel's Pink and Purple Tire Factory qualified 10th, just over 134. We are just arriving on the backstretch of the historic Ted Jones race course here on Lake Washington in Seattle. With me is Dr. Ken Muscatel, UHRA Commissioner, and of course owner and driver of the brand new Tire Factory Hydro. And Ken, we are on a body of water that has a lot of childhood memories for both of us here.
I can almost imagine myself in the Slow-Mo 5 in Lou Fagel's seat going down the straightaway in 1955, and the boat starts walking, and over she goes.
Right about here was the famous spot. Now, put on your driver's hat, if you will, one of the 3 you wear. We're going to increase the speed a little bit and have you take us through the starting procedure, which you start about here, and then on around the race course, okay?
Okay. Right about now, I'm hoping to be at about 16, 17, 18 seconds, depending on how fast we're going, because when I pull around this yellow buoy and straighten out, I got a 12 to 13 second flat out run to the start finish line. But if I'm going slow, maybe I got to be here about 16 seconds. Now here we go. Right down that straightaway, that's where the race is won or lost about 60% of the time. Right about here, the boat's going to be accelerating past 160, 170, 180. By the time we get to that stripe buoy, that's the start finish line. we should be going near 200 miles an hour. It's difficult to see the clock and see that buoy right in front of us. And the closer we get, the further away that clock is going to be out of our line of sight. So guys are going to be relying on the radio operators from the shore and our own clocks in the dashboard to tell us when we have to hit that. That's why it's a hard place to start. Now we're coming into the first turn. You got 6 boats, want to hit that buoy and squeeze everybody else, because if you can control that corner, you can control the other boats, and you got a free pass to the back straightaway. Right here, there's a saddle. That saddle is where the wind picks up. We've got a lot of blowovers at this spot, because when you hit this corner, you have a sudden gust of wind, it can pick up the right spots and over the boat goes. Pico went over here, Budweiser went over here with Chip a couple of times. Pretty interesting spot to be. This corner can get pretty rough as well. In fact, the whole race course can get pretty rough. Now you've got to go through this corner. If you're not in lane 1 and you're a little behind, you won't be able to see around the corner. It's going to be all water. You're looking for as much clean water as you can get. But the fact is, if you get squirted on your windshield, you will not be able to see for 2 or 3 seconds at 170, 180 miles an hour. Pretty interesting experience. This log boom here, this log boom is unique to Seattle. It's great for the fans. It makes a fantastic show, but it's very, very difficult to race with, because you get parallel rollers coming across the backstretch. Unique to this race course, those rollers will cause the boat to rock like this, back and forth, back and forth. If you hit one wrong, you might pick up that right spot and over you go. Here we're coming into the north turn for the first lap, and you are really hauling it. I expect to be going 190, 200 miles an hour, maybe faster. When I come to this corner, you're going to crank it in full speed if you can. It's going to be really nasty, because this is where we were milling. So the water is crazy, and we've only about a minute to come around and clear it out. There's still going to be troughs here that we cut with our big skid fins. You got to go over this stuff. If you fall into a hole, the boat will grab and hook. You might spin it out. You might break something on the boat. You might break your teeth. You can get around this corner clean. You can hit that yellow buoy under control. You can lay it down on that back straightaway, and the race is yours. No doubt about it.
Our thanks to the good Dr. Ken Muscatel, one of the many drivers who calls the Seattle area his home. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Hydro's General Motors Cup at Seafair is brought to you by Las Vegas. Anything can happen, and usually does when it comes to special events. By Ralph's, first in savings, first in Southern California. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew, a taste worth toasting. Welcome back to ESPN Speed World coverage of the Ralph's Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas, the General Motors Cup at Seafair. A fantastic weekend of racing from Seattle. We're all ready for our Heat 3A lineups, and let's take a look at them, Steve.
Heat 3A will feature a more modern version of this boat, the Miss Budweiser. He'll be joined by the York International and Miss Pico, with Greg Hopp in the cockpit, Rich.
Misco Bowling, Appian Geronimo, and Graham Trucking United Furniture round out the 3A participants. In Heat 1, Miss Budweiser taking the win, with Pico and Greg Hopp chasing him all the way.
The rookie giving it a pretty good ride, but of course not able to catch Dave Villwalk, one of the all-time greats in Miss Budweiser.
Villwalk averaging 140.491 to win Heat 1B.
Good start for your day.
Yeah, so far so good. Another 400 points for the World Championship in this Ralph's Las Vegas Tour.
Villwalk's obviously got his game face on early on, and in Heat 2, it was more of the same, another easy win.
Early heat's very important to the Budweiser team, because every time they pick up 400 points, that's a big step toward another national championship. Certainly a great weekend so far for Bernie Little's team, but a lot of racing still to come.
It's not so rare that Miss Budweiser and Dave Villwalk have 800 points and 2 wins after the first 2 heats of the day. What is rare is that the crew is working extremely hard on tinkering with this boat and trying to find that perfect combination, even though they have 2 perfect wins so far on Lake Washington. The lake waters are getting choppier as the day goes on. The temperature is constantly changing. So Dave Villwalk told me they're still trying to find that perfect combination to take them into Heat 3 and then the finals.
Rich, Greg Hopp driving Fred Leland's Miss Pico has had a good day so far. He ran a very aggressive second place and then won his second heat. He has 700 points on the day. He is driving very hard, very aggressively, and now he has drawn Dave Villwock and the Budweiser again. Again, this should be a preview perhaps of the final. We'll see how young Greg Hopp does in this one.
Looking back again in Heat 1B, the only lead Greg Hopp had was early.
But he's on the outside. It's the rookie on the outside, the veteran on the inside, and you know who's going to win a matchup like that. A good effort, though, by Greg Hopp. Relegated to second place and running back in the very, very rough water behind the leader, Dave Villwock.
Yeah, well, you know, you get back in that rough water and it slops up a little bit. You know, if we're out in front, it would ride a lot better. So we'll just try to put it out front.
And Heat 2B, Hopp had Mark Webber in the York to deal with early.
And once again, the young driver found himself with a very, very fast boat, an experienced driver on his left. It did take some time, Rich. It was a great boat race, but eventually the Pico would prevail in this one. And here you see him going by Mark Webber.
Mark getting a little loose there, and the straightaway speed by the Miss Pico prevailing as they go into the turn. Hopp gets the lead going into that turn, and coming out of it, he extends that lead.
And that's a great job by a rookie driver of carving a nice arc there in lane 2.
From there, he cruises to the victory in Heat 2B, his first win in the Miss Pico. Normally, the Miss Pico crew plays the percentages between Heats 2 and 3 and tries to find that perfect combination to give them a little extra juice going towards Heat 3 and in the finals. Because of the logistics here at Lake Washington, there's not a lot of time between Heats 2 and Heat 3 for them to make any changes, and you got to think they'd want to make changes now because they just found out that they've drawn Miss Budweiser in Heat 3. Yet, they've got a win and a second place going in. Greg Hopp's driving it better as the day goes on, and they're happy with the way the boat's running, so they're going to keep it as is going into Heat 3. Here's a look at Mark Webber in the York International Pizza Time boat, conferring with his wife and coach, Lori, as he's getting ready for his boat to get out on the water. And so far today, he's had a good day.
Back in Heat 1A, a nice draw for this team. No Pico, no Budweiser. Mark Webber cruising to a rather easy victory over Mark Tate and the Freddy's Club back in Heat 1A.
And in the heat, you just saw a second place finish in 2B. So a first and a second equals 700 points, doing very well for Mark Webber going into Heat 3 and looking to lock up a place in the front line in the finals.
Mitch Evans in Jerry Rice's Appian Geronimo is licking his wounds after an incident with Jerry Hopp in Heat 2A. He has 394 points on the day, but look at this. Jerry Hopp on the outside hits those rollers, deflects to the left, and hits the Appian Geronimo, damaging both boats and creating a lot of work for these two pit crews who had a very, very busy day trying to keep these two hydroplanes afloat so they could finish this event.
Seems like Jerry Hopp got the worst of that exchange, only 264 points coming in, and he'll be sitting out Heat 3A due to a minor knee injury sustained when he made contact with the Appian.
Mike Hansen, the Miss Go Bowling, has only 222 points after a 6th place finish in 1B, 5th place in 2A. He'll need to score big here in the upcoming heat.
Those are some of the other boats to look for in Heat 3A, but the ones to chase, Bernie Little and Miss Budweiser. Bernie's given Dave Villwock some advice as Chip Hanauer looks on as Greg Hopp prepares for battle in the Pico. Heat 3A coming up next. Welcome back to the golden anniversary of Seafair ESPN Speed World Rouse Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas, the General Motors Cup, and we're set for 3A.
And look who has put his boat in lane 1, Miss Pico and Greg Hopp. Villwock will come from lane 2 in the Bud, then Mark Webber and the York International in 3. Mike Hansen out in lane 4 in the bowling boat. Mitch Evans will bring the Appian Geronimo from lane 5. Here's the start. Now the Pico in a position to challenge, but it's going to take a great driving job by this rookie to hold off the Budweiser.
The boats are headed down the stretch to get to the start line. It's an official start. It looks like the second boat in from the left, Mike Hansen in the white Misco bowling boat, has jumped the start. We'll have to find out the official word. But the story right now is the inside lane, Miss Pico and Greg Hopp, a fantastic start.
A great job by the rookie Greg Hopp. He has put a lead on the Miss Budweiser now. We think this boat has the speed to hold off the Budweiser, but the driving experience here, a tremendous difference between the blue boat and the red one. This will be interesting to watch.
And Steve, it's not too often that crowds at hydroplane races get to see the Miss Pico and the Miss Budweiser tangle twice before a final. This is the time it's happening here in Seattle, and right now Miss Pico is making the most of it.
And even less often do they see anybody ahead of the red boat. After one lap, a pretty good lead here for Greg Hopp and the Miss Pico, a crowd of over 300,000 on their feet. This by far our greatest boat race of the day so far.
It's a rooster tail lead for Greg Hopp as he makes that turn into the back straightaway. As you know, 2 straight wins by Dave Villwock mean he's starting on an outside lane, cannot start in lane 1 here in Seattle, and right now Greg Hopp really taking advantage of that.
And showing us that if a good fast boat is able to get lane 1 with that restriction on the Bud, not being able to use that lane, they can make it tough for Villwock. And we have quite a story developing here, Rich, and one that could be very important later in the day.
It's Dave Villwock chasing Miss Pico and Greg Hopp. You never thought this would happen. Villwock beat Hopp earlier in the day in one of the earlier heats. Right now, Villwock is trailing.
Dave Villwock with 25 career victories in just a few seasons as an unlimited driver. Greg Hopp in his rookie year has yet to win one of these. It looks now like he may have a chance. If he's able to drive this very, very fast race boat this well, Rich, he definitely has a chance to win this thing.
A great view from the O'Doul's eye in the sky. Greg Hopp saying earlier in the day he thought he was having a dream season, but now that he's in the Miss Pico, he's pinching himself because now he really thinks he's dreaming, driving a machine like the Miss Pico and driving it well up to this point.
This boat a little more horsepower than he's used to, but fortunately, Rich, it's a sister ship. This boat and the white boat racing here is the United Furniture, both Fred Leland hulls, different cowlings, but the same canard setup, same wings, pretty much the same handling, and that becomes a big advantage for him right here. A big victory for the Pico team.
And you can see the celebration not only for the Pico crew, but a couple of volunteer members of that Hopp crew are there celebrating as well. Miss Pico wins it, followed by Miss Budweiser. Mark Webber in the York International is third. Appy and Geronimo, Misco Bowling, and Graham Trucking round out the field. Yeah. So things have gotten a little more interesting here in Seattle now that Greg Hopp and the Miss Pico have defeated Dave Villwock and the Miss Budweiser in Heat 3A.
He took it from him, he took it back, and he took it back. You beat the red boat, dude. Dude, you beat the red boat.
Whoa. The best heat of your life so far. Is there anything you'd like to say?
Please let us do that in the final.
Did you stop at all to think about who that was back there behind you?
Well, I knew it was the red boat. We lost radio communication on the last lap, so I didn't know who was back there or where he was, but I knew he was right behind me, so I just kept pushing it.
Did you ever read Hanauer's book, How to Make Your Boat Real Wide When You're Out Front?
It only comes from a long line of race secrets.
Hopp Racing rock!
Hopp Racing and Miss Pico combined to rock the world of Dave Villwock and Miss Budweiser in Heat 3A. He'll certainly have his say come the finals. More racing from ESPN Speed World coming up next. Welcome back to the General Motors Cup at Seafair in Seattle. The Budweiser crew working on their bullet after losing Heat 3A to Greg Hopp and Miss Pico. Here's the lineup for 3B.
Nate Brown in the Lumar Window Film, the Tire Factory, Ken Muscatel, Miss Elam Plus with Mark Evans, the Graham Trucking, Freddy's Club, and Tweeton's RV Mart will line up for Heat 3B. Mark Evans and his new ride, the Miss Elam, will be in Heat 3B, and they've had a very good weekend. One of the top 3 boats in qualifying. The white boat has looked very, very good. Heats 1 and 2, they scored a lot of points. In Heat 3B, they have a very good draw and could win this thing. Any finish in the top 3, and Mark and the Elam will have enough points to make the final.
The Miss Elam did have a tough draw in Heat 1B, drawing Villwock and Hopp in the Bud and Pico. He finished behind both of them, but still a pretty good finish.
No, not bad. I was just a little back myself. I thought maybe the guys were going to be early, you know, due to what was going on last weekend. But no, ended up being a good race. Seattle water's rough as usual, but we love it.
Steve, a little bit of a better draw in Heat 2A.
Yeah, but he still had Miss Budweiser to contend with and had to settle for a respectable second place, wisely picking up those points, and as we said earlier, putting himself in a pretty good spot here to make the final.
The Miss Elam crew installing a new propeller going into Heat 3. They've been changing out props after every heat, between Heat 1 and Heat 2, now between Heat 2 and Heat 3, and they're going to save the big engine for the finals. They told me that they're changing props because the weather conditions and the water conditions change. They're trying to find the perfect propeller to run on this water, but what they are going to change is the engine come the finals. They've been running the same engine in the first 2 heats. They'll keep the same engine in this heat, but the big bullet's going in for the final.
In Heat 3B, Mark Tate and the U2 Freddy's Club will be looking to score some points. Once they finally fit Mark into the cockpit, where he replaced a smaller Steve David, they qualified rather conservatively, bringing the boat along, and were happy with the way it progressed. Then their first heat, they scored a very strong second place, but a mediocre finish in the second heat left them with just enough points to make the final if it was run right now. To make sure they're in the final heat, they need to score and score well here in 3B.
Going back to look at Heat 1A, he drew York International. York was in front the whole time. Mark Tate had to settle for second.
Mark Tate and the team deciding to go outside, run it a little bit conservative. Certainly a wise move when you have a driver in a brand new boat, to him at least. A second place finish, 300 points. Really a pretty good start to the day.
Water conditions were fairly good. You know, we were just played it smart. We felt that we could run a second here pretty easily. Just wanted to get my feet wet, get an outside start, not get in there and try and mix it up with anybody. So we're real pleased with the Freddy's Club right now.
In Heat 2, not going as well for Mark Tate. From the dual's eye in the sky, you see him chasing Nate Brown in the Lumar boat.
Started way outside, didn't catch up, had to settle for a 5th place finish. Not many points in Heat 2.
With 420 points, a 2nd place finish, and a 5th place finish in the first 2 heats of the day, Freddy's Club boat looking very good for the finals. As a matter of fact, right now, if the finals were to start before the 3rd heat of the day, they would have a frontline start in that final. They are 6th place right now with that 427. Boat owner Jim Harvey telling me right before this boat goes in the water, they're trying to fix the prop a little bit, just tweaking it to get a little more slippage, which makes the boat go a little bit faster. Maybe that way Mark Tate can get a good inside lane for Heat 3. Also in Heat 3B, Nate Brown, who you saw ahead of Mark Tate in that last race with 352 points, courtesy of a 5th place finish in 1B and a 3rd place finish in 2B.
The commish, Dr. Ken Muscatel, will have the tire factory in Heat 3B. Comes in with 394 points, really in pretty good shape to make the final with a good, strong finish here. And this boat, Rich, continues to improve and look better.
Jerry Hale in Bob Fender's boat has earned 264 points for a 4th place finish in 1A and a 6th place finish in 2B.
Then we go to the piston-powered Graham Trucking. Mike Weber has 127 points. That's a 5th in 1A, a DNF in 2A. He's a long shot to make the final.
We've set the table for you for 3B. Mark Tate and company coming back to run it next. One of the youngest members of the Miss Budweiser crew on board helping the boat get ready. That's Bernie Little's grandson, Joey Little, as the Miss Bud gets set for the finals, but Heat 3B has not yet run. They're on the water.
Mark Evans and the Elam Plus have captured lane 1. Ken Muscatel is going to be in lane 2 in the tire factory. Lane 3 looks like it'll go to Nate Brown in the yellow and white Lumar window film. Then out to lane 4. Mark Tate can swing it wide out there and use up some time as the field comes down a little early. Jerry Hale's boat and Mike Weber's apparently will not compete here. They'll get DNSs in 3B.
So it looks like as we count down 5 seconds left before the start, it's going to be a 4-boat field, and all 4 boats are going to get a great start. Evans with the inside lane has the advantage, but Muscatel, Nate Brown, and Mark Tate all with good starts too.
Tate bringing the Freddy's Club hard from the outside. Now the advantage should go to Mark Evans on the inside in the white boat. The Elam Plus, Ken Muscatel, doing a pretty good job of getting his brand new pink and purple boat through the first turn.
Ken Muscatel has had a real good day so far, his best day on the water with the tire factory boat. Right now he is chasing Mark Evans and the Miss Elam Plus, your current leader.
The speed this boat showed us in qualifying and in earlier heats, you'd have to pick him right now to lead this thing wire to wire. But once again, Rich, anything can happen in hydroplane racing as Evans swings it a little wide to keep the other drivers guessing as just where the arc of that turn is going to be.
And this is as tight a heat as we've seen. The pack is very close together, especially in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th with Evans leading the pack. But Mark Tate and Freddy's Club right there. Nate Brown, Lumar Window Film, and the good Dr. Ken Muscatel in the Tire Factory, all close behind.
Nate Brown has a quick boat there running in second place. Your leader is the white boat, the Elam, out ahead. Then comes the yellow Lumar Window Film. Giving chase is Mark Tate, doing a nice job out in lane 3 in the black, red, and yellow Freddy's Club. And you saw Dr. Ken Muscatel move the Tire Factory over to the inside, running back in 4th place.
Now, Steve, you talked to all of these drivers before the race, and this is a great time to mention it, seeing Mark Evans run so well in Heat 3B. But you talk to Vilwalk, you talk to Hop, almost every driver notices and takes note of the fact that Miss Elam Plus is a legitimate contender here in Seattle.
Absolutely, and we've mentioned before, this boat doesn't make the entire circuit. The Elstrom family comes out of their shop in Ballard and runs very, very well every time we see them on the circuit. They looked good in Havasu with young Jimmy King in the cockpit, made the driver change for the Tri-Cities, and they expect it to pay off at some point this season.
Here's your battle for second. A great shot from the O'Doul's eye in the sky. The yellow boat, Nate Brown and the Lumar inside. Outside is Freddy's Club. Uh-oh, Freddy's Club getting inside the rooster tail, and we see it come out right out at the bottom of your picture there. The cowling is in the waters of Lake Washington, and there you see the Freddy's Club boat in the background.
This could be a disaster for the Freddy's Club team and Mark Tate. They were in 3rd place, great shape to make the final. Now, if they get a 0 here, he's going to try to restart the boat, Rich, but it'll be hard to do. He blew the cowling off, and when he starts to get up on a plane, that water will come in and put out the fire. Nothing to stop it.
Miss Elam goes on for the win. Nate Brown and the Lumar Window Film boat finished second, and you got to give Mark Tate credit. He's trying to fire up the candle on the Freddy's Club boat, but with the cowling off, it's going to be major problems for Mark Tate. Miss Elam Plus and Mark Evans go on to win Heat 3B, and there is Freddy's Club, the U2 boat, in all kinds of trouble.
He was fortunate to stay right side up, but he did blow the cowling off, and that normally makes it just about impossible to restart your boat on the water. Ken Muscatel will pick up 3rd place points and assure himself of a spot in the final. And of course, the Elam becomes one of the favorites on the day after a good, strong showing here.
Miss Elam gets the 400 points, followed by Lumar Window Film, the Tire Factory, and Freddy's Club with a DNF in 4th place.
Hey, Bud, that's more like the game plan.
Yeah, that's what we're working towards. I guess it pays just to be patient and consistent, and that'll get you up into the winner's circle. We had a good one. I was worried about getting that inside lane with everybody, but we're getting it figured out.
You win the next one, it's a big deal, you know.
I know. That's we're working into that. That'd be great for the Elstrom family and the Elstrom team. It'd be something, man. Thank you. Woo. Yeah.
3B was good news for Mark Evans and the Miss Elam. Bad news for Mark Tate and Freddy's Club. The cowling was off in the water. The canard was also ripped off on the front of the boat. Jim Harvey and Mark Tate surveying the damage.
The battle for supremacy among the automotive-powered unlimited lights continues. Charlie Wiggins, racing in the Northwest as the Freddy's Club, now has 4 victories on the season. Bo Scheid in the Alamo has 3, but the Alamo team has about a 300-point advantage in national high points. So the race is very, very close. Just about to take to the water. Our unlimited lights final will have it for you when Speed World coverage continues. Back on Lake Washington in Seattle, the Ralph Thunder Tour presented by Las Vegas. It's the General Motors Cup at Seafair. Next up, the Unlimited Lights.
As we get set for the finals, Dave Vilwalk talking to owner Bernie Little. You were telling him about the propeller. You were telling me earlier that you were changing out props and doing a lot of different alterations to the boat. What are you going to have to do to win this final now?
Just get our nose out front. You know, you got to get in the rough water conditions. You got to be up there, and so we just got to do that. That's what's going to decide it.
This is one of those rare times. Usually we talk before the finals, and you're saying that the crew's done such a great job with the boat, you don't have to make any changes. It's kind of uncharted territory for you so far this season.
They have done a great job, but we're changing stuff. We're running new stuff we haven't run before, so, you know, it's going to change us some. But we're learning. You know, we're learning more for next year than this year, but, you know, and we might suffer by it, but that's okay. We're committed to try to go faster and do more, and that's what our qualifying speeds have showed.
Back to the business at hand. Randy Haas in lane 1, Freddy's Club Light, Charlie Wiggins in lane 2, Phil Bonazzini draws lane 3, Jerry Hop okay with that knee injury in lane 4, Bo Scheid in lane 5, it's Rick Bridgman in lane 6, and the Aquatropics boat Dave Bender in lane 7.
The blue boat on the inside is the new compere, Randy Haas. His father and wife have towed this boat around the country. They've never won, but they're in a great spot here. The Alamo and Bo Scheid out a ways. They'll have to go around some boats. And a great start for Phil Bonazzini in the red boat, the Graham Trucking Pocket Mechanic.
Phil Bonazzini has been close but no cigar so far this season. He's had a couple of good runs, a couple of good heats. Right now, he's out in front.
Look at the blue boat, the Compare, making a great start. And where are the yellow guys? They are back in the Rooster Tails. Both the Alamo and the Freddy's Club have a lot of water to make up here. Look at this great shot. Look at all the racing off to the left of Beau Scheid.
Talk about deck to deck. We've seen it all season long, but usually we see it from the Alamo and the Freddy's Club Light, Charlie Wiggins boat. Now it's Phil Bonazzini and Randy Haas, a red and a blue boat going at it.
Now listen to this. We received word from the judges that Phil Bonazzini jumped the gun in the red boat. The pocket mechanic is not leading this race, and look at this great shot as Beau Scheid is our cameraman. He's coming up beside Charlie Wiggins in the Freddy's Club, but the leader right now is Randy Haas in the blue Compare. That's a fast boat, Rich, and we could have a first-time winner here in the Unlimited Lights.
That's a good look at Phil Bonazzini's boat. As you said, the pocket mechanic Graham Trucking basically out of this race, even though it leads the race because of jumping the start. And all we see behind him is tightly contested Unlimited Lights. It's Randy Haas in front, but Wiggins and Scheid are right behind him, breathing down his tail. Don't be fooled by that picture that you see. It's Randy Haas in the blue boat in the lead.
And too bad for Phil Bonazzini in the red pocket mechanic, because he just had his nose over the line. Otherwise, he would be leading, and he might be a first-time winner here. But it's going to be Randy Haas out of Toledo, Ohio, a boat that he and his dad built over the winter, the Compare. They are going to win a very, very big race here in Seattle, and this will be a very popular victory, Rich, because this is a family that has really worked hard in the lights. Very, very popular among their competitors and fans. What a great win for family Haas.
And on board with the Alamo, not a sight that Ned Allen or anyone on the Alamo crew wants to see. The boat is dead in the water. Randy Haas, driving the Wizards Casino Presents Comp Air, wins its first race of the year, the first time neither of the two yellow boats have won on the Unlimited Lights Tour.
Where you at, girl?
Randy, you got one. You beat those Canaries, as you put it, in one of the biggest races of the year.
Well, let me tell you, it was a hard job. Everybody has worked so hard this year to get this done. Yes! I want to thank
Tracy, get over here.
Compare. I'd like to thank Compare Leroy, Wizards Casino and Restaurant here in town. And I want to thank the crew and Bud Gilbert. Uncle Bud, without Uncle Bud, we wouldn't be here. Thanks,
A little
Bud.
while ago, you didn't have a shaft.
No, we didn't. Alamo gave us one of theirs.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The big story we've been following all day has been Greg Hopp's first ride in the Miss Pico, and so far so good, man. A win against Budweiser in Heat 3, so you're going in on a real high note in the final.
Oh, yeah, it definitely helps when you actually beat them on the water. And, the Pico team they're down on me a little bit more horsepower here, and we'll see what happens in the final. I'm excited.
You told me earlier in the day you're pinching yourself to make sure this is reality. Is it what you expected when you're on the water racing against the Bud in the Miss Pico?
I'm still pinching. I don't know. It doesn't seem real. This is the stuff, books are written about. It doesn't happen this way, but it's happening. So this is cool.
Not such great news for Mark Tate and the Freddy's Club. They give it a shot in the provisional, but fall short of the final. More to come when Speed World continues. We are into the countdown for the final heat, the General Motors Cup at Seafair from Lake Washington in Seattle.
When we last saw Mark Evans, it was his first race of the '99 Hydro season in Tri-Cities. You one-upped yourself now. You're in the finals. You weren't in the finals in Tri-Cities, so what's your strategy now that you made it?
Oh, man, get that inside lane and pedal to the metal. My guys are putting a new bullet in the boat, a little bigger engine, but we got to get that inside lane on Bud and just get a good start. It's a key thing, because Tri-Cities, man, we had a hard time that weekend, but hopefully we got all the bugs out of the way, and we're ready for the final here.
We know you were changing propellers as the day was going on because of the water conditions. Now, like you said, you're putting in the new engine. Have you been saving this specifically for the finals? You think that could put you over the top?
Yes, when we were out testing, we got up a 150 average lap, and we liked that engine, so we put it away for the final, because it's hard on the engines when you're bouncing that hard through the heats, and hopefully this one will give us all the power we need for the final.
Good luck to Miss Elan Plus.
All right, thank you much. Appreciate it.
Today's Alamo Almanac is brought to you by Alamo Rent-A-Car. Ready, set, go. Come on and drive happy today.
Seafair Week in Seattle, and the Hydroplane and Raceboat Museum inducts 3 new members into the Hydroplane Hall of Fame. Beginning with the second Muncie to be inducted, this one Fran, wife of the legendary racer Bill and co-owner of his Atlas Van Lines racing team. Following his death in 1981, Fran continued to be one of the most successful owners in the history of the sport. Smilin' George Henley from Eatonville, Washington, began his career in the Burien Lady, but became a legend driving Dave Herrensberger's Pride of Pay and Pack. National championships, many, many career victories earned this very gentle, very nice man a spot in the Hydroplane Hall of Fame. And Bill Brow, the world's fastest milkman out of Burien, Washington, driver of the legendary Miss Exide. It was he who would give Bernie Little his first victory in 1966 aboard one of the original Miss Budweisers. And speaking of history, Rich, these are the vintage boats out of the Hydroplane Hall of Fame and Museum in Seattle, putting on a great show for us here on Lake Washington.
Mark, a valiant effort just to get that boat on the water for the provisional heat. Obviously, you would have liked to be in the finals, but I'm guessing that today was kind of a learning process for you and the Freddy's Club boat.
Well, you know, it's a shame. We came here to make the final. That was our ultimate goal, and unfortunately, we didn't do that. And I got to commend the crew and Jim Harvey and all of his guys for the effort that they did to get the boat out there in a consolation. And, you know, the boat was without a front canard wing there, and I really couldn't push it hard, and I was having some handling problems, but my hat's off to them. Not real happy with Mark Tate today, but you know, that's the way racing goes.
Freddy's Club will not be in the finals, but the Miss Budweiser certainly will be. Between Budweiser and Miss Pico, those are your 2 boats to beat. We'll have the Unlimited Hydroplane Final from Seafair 99 in Seattle coming up next on ESPN Speed World. The hydroplanes might be the centerpiece of Seafair, but the Blue Angels also put on one great demonstration as well as we get set for the Unlimited Hydroplane Finals. The Blue Angels just finishing up their demonstration.
Boats on the water. We're in the milling period for the final, a very critical part of the race here. Mark Webber in the York International has a good spot. He'll be in the front row of the final heat. This team has come a long, long ways this year, Rich, and they will contend. The other yellow boat, Nate Brown in the Lumar window film, with some problems here. He needs to get it underway, but he does still have some time as we are just under the 5-minute mark.
Here's Miss Elam Plus, driven by Mark Evans. They had a win in Heat 3, so they are riding high coming into the finals and really sneaking up on nobody, Steve.
If they do well here, it'll be a very, very popular win for them because this team is from Ballard, Washington, the old Norwegian community here in Seattle, the home of the legendary Miss Bardall. Their shop just a few blocks from the Bardall building. Great overhead shot now as the milling continues.
That 2-mile oval race course on Lake Washington, and Greg Hopp mastered this race course in Heat 3, defeating Miss Budweiser to the surprise of just especially the Miss Budweiser crew.
Ken Muscatel and his tire factory boat for the 2nd week in a row will make the final heat. So they're off to a pretty good start here with a brand new boat.
We are now under 4 minutes to go before the Unlimited final starts, and there you see one of the Unlimited hydroplanes cutting across the infield, trying to score up and getting those 1 or 2 inside lanes that are so valuable.
And we'll talk about that some more, but look at Mitch Evans and the Appian Geronimo. A lot of band-aids on the right side of that boat. It'll be amazing if it stays together through the final heat here, and we are getting closer and closer now to the period where they have to get scored up and choose their lanes. Here's what we want to talk about, Rich. Look at the wakes and the rollers being created in the infield by the boats cutting across to take position on the backstretch. Now, those rollers move out into the turn. We've seen 2 boats today get in trouble by hooking on those rollers like Jerry Hopp does right here in the United Furniture. One of those rollers just bounces him to the left, right into the Appian Geronimo. Very similar thing happened to Mark Tate and the Freddy's Club. He ends up in the rooster tail of the Lumar. So those rollers created in the infield can be a danger down in the first turn.
And we've talked to every driver that's been involved in Seafair this weekend, and they keep saying that the waters get rougher as the day goes on. More boats on the water means rougher waters on Lake Washington. So this will not be an easy ride, whoever wants to win this final. One of 7 boats is going to take it. We'll find out who does it coming up next. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Hydro's General Motors Cup at Seafair has been brought to you by Las Vegas. Anything can happen and usually does when it comes to special events. By Ralph's, first in savings, first in Southern California. And by O'Doul's non-alcoholic brew, a taste worth toasting.
Now remember, Rich, after winning 2 events in a row, Budweiser cannot be in lane 1. He is in lane 2. That's a good spot for him. But Mark Webber and a good quick boat, the York International, will be inside him in lane 1. Greg Hopp will have to strike from lane 3 in the Miss Pico. Ken Muscatel in the Tire Factory will come from lane 4. Mark Evans out a little further than he'd like to be in lane 5. The Lumar window film on the outside with Nate Brown. Mitch Evans is the trailer boat in the Appian Geronimo. Here they come down to the start. The 2 boats on the inside. Oh, they get close together in lanes 3 and 4, and the Budweiser once again moves out to an early lead.
And Steve, that was Ken Muscatel, who looked like got inside the lane of the Miss Pico, washed him down, and Greg Hopp is nowhere to be found in the pack of leaders.
Boy, the race we expected may be over already as the Pico got into the rooster tail of Ken Muscatel, who appeared to move left just a little bit, and that may have taken the rookie out of this. It certainly won't be his fault, but it may rob us of a very much anticipated final heat here as the Budweiser appears to be leaving everybody.
As far as Dave Villwock's concerned, no harm, no foul for his boat. He was in the lead and maintained that lead despite what happened with Muscatel. Look at the Miss Elam just passing by York International and Mark Webber moving into second place.
Good ride here for Mark Evans in the white boat on the outside. The race for second and third could be a pretty good one because the York International has quite a bit shorter racetrack on the inside. The Budweiser has a good lead, but he is not pulling away from these 2 boats any kind of a bobble, and we could have a surprise here. But watch that race for second and third. It's going to be a good one.
Over 143 miles an hour, that first lap average for Dave Villwock and the Miss Budweiser. And oh my, what about the Miss Elam Plus in second place? Mark Evans, before this race, said they were putting in that new engine, and obviously it paid off with a little extra juice to pass Mark Webber in the York International.
And now we get word that Ken Muscatel in the Tire Factory has been penalized a lap for a lane infraction at the start, which we saw getting in front of the Pico. So that will cost the doctor. Unfortunately, it won't do Greg Hopp any good, as he apparently will be unable to contend here in the final, and that's too bad. However, Mark Evans likes it just fine. He's on his way to a second place finish if he can hold it together in the Elam.
About a 2.5 rooster tail lead for Miss Budweiser. And look at this. Greg Hopp has the Miss Pico up and running after it got washed down at the very first turn. And now Miss Pico looking to make up ground, currently in 5th and chasing of all the boats, Miss Budweiser way out in front.
Couple of boats between Greg and the leader still. He's running very, very fast and passing people, but he is way behind a boat which week in and week out is the fastest race boat in the world. You're not going to catch this guy from way back there. And look at that rough water, Rich, in the north turn.
Yeah, but the Miss Budweiser and Dave Villwock handling that rough water to perfection, not showing any ill effects from the rough waters on Lake Washington. Into the final lap we go, and right now the battle for third is the most exciting one, and that's because Greg Hopp has made up all kinds of ground, chasing down Mark Webber in the York International.
Last time we saw young Mr. Hopp, he was back in 5th place. He blew right by the 4th place boat. Now he's going after number 3. Here he comes, trying to get around the outside. That's the Pico on the left, the York International on the right. Not around him yet, Rich, but he has the boat speed maybe to do it in this straightaway.
Yeah, moving into 3rd place is about as good as you can hope for Greg Hopp after what happened to him at the beginning. But right now, all eyes on Miss Budweiser, rounding that last turn and going into the final straightaway, looking to pick up another big 400 points and the win in the Unlimited final.
26th victory in his career will put him in 3rd place all-time among drivers, and this guy has not been in the Unlimiteds for that many years. He is really coming on fast, among the all-time greatest in this sport.
The Miss Elam Plus and Mark Evans finish in 2nd place. A great ride for them. And talk about great rides. Greg Hopp coming all the way from the back of the pack to finish in 3rd. But Miss Budweiser's your winner.
Bernie Little just said, now they're going to make me start in lane 3. You win that one, I think you're in lane 9. This is the first time anybody's won who was not allowed inside.
Yeah, I know that, and but Dave's done an awesome job, so has the crew. They put together a great racing team for last week and this week. Combinations that really worked, and I'm sorry that all my good friends from People Brady's aren't here in Seattle with me, where it's great. And but we do have a lot of fans here, and we're damn glad we're here, and we're damn glad we won.
Congratulations to Bernie Little and the Miss Budweiser crew. There's your winner, Dave Vilwalk. High fives all around for Vilwalk. Another win, marking his 5th this season.
Good job.
Your results: Miss Budweiser wins, followed by the Elam, Miss Pico in 3rd, York in 4th, Lumar, Appian, and the Tire Factory 5 through 7. National high points: Miss Budweiser continues to lead, followed by the Pico and York International moving into 3rd.
Well, Dave, they made you start in lane 2. Now you've won lane 3. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Well, lane 2 is a good lane here, provided you get your nose out front. If you get behind, you're going to get beat like we did the 3rd heat, but we tried to save up the best combination, and Mark Smith did an awesome job at looking at everything and coming up with the best combination at just the right time of the day. Really took a page out of sort of the Pico team to sort of save up and wait and come up with a great combination. This time the Bud team did exactly the same in their hometown, and so I couldn't be prouder of all our science officers, Derek and Dixon and Mark Smith, because he put together an awesome motor. He worked all week up in the dyno for this special motor, and it really paid off.
It's your hometown, too, and I know that makes it special.
It sure does. There's a lot of family and friends here, and people that put up with us working all kinds of hours to make this boat go fast, and it's a payback for them to go win in front of them.
Congratulations.
Well, thanks, and for this Las Vegas Rouse Tour, Miss Budweiser came out front, and we're really happy.
I'll do it right now, Pat.
Greg Hopp, that was about as exciting a 3rd place finish as I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, we had to come from a ways back to get that one. We got hosed down coming down into the first turn, put the fire out, came out of that sucker, and it's basically last, I think, and had to chase everyone down. Had to just make that boat fly over that stuff.
Maybe if it was a 2.5-mile course instead of a 2-mile course, you might have made up some more ground.
Oh, yeah, we could have caught him then.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot.
Good job, Greg Hopp. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Dude, I am so proud of you.
Who's the man?
I am so proud of you.
What was a 3rd place finish turned into a 2nd place finish for Miss Pico. Miss Elam Plus disqualified for overspeeding their turbine, so Miss Budweiser in 1st, Miss Pico in 2nd. Any way you cut it, it was a fantastic weekend of racing from Lake Washington in Seattle in the 50th anniversary of Seafair. Dave Vilwalk, a winner. Greg Hopp feels like a winner, too, in his first ride ever in the Miss Pico. Thanks for watching, everybody. For Steve Montgomery, I'm Rich Hollenberg saying so long for now. We'll see you next time in San Diego. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, go.com.